Good evening.
Yo. Is it still not working? I think it's working. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name's Chad. I'll be your host tonight. This is Helicon West, the uncensored, unfiltered, unadulterated reading series that features open mic and guest readers. I'm glad you're all here. It's good to see some people coming out to express your creativity or to consume that of everybody else. Let's take care of some notes. First of all, we are sponsored by the USU Writing Center, and they help us with logistical and promotional consideration. So we thank the Writing Center, and by extension we thank Star Coolbrook, who runs the Writing Center and is also a co-founder of Helicon West many years ago with Michael Souter. Thank you, Star, for your tireless efforts to provide this venue and space and community.
Thanks, Chad.
We are also sponsored by the library, so if you have a chance to say thank you to the library in some way, please do that. They've given us a super cool situation, reliable room to use instead of jumping around to coffee shops and sandwich joints. Here in the Bridger room, where the eyes of Jim Bridger are always on his ever-present gaze. And we used to thank Mitch for setting up the sound. He doesn't do that anymore, but it was kind of a challenge back when he had to, so we keep thanking him. Thanks, Mitch. All that stuff he did 5 years ago. And we have a special group of guests tonight. We have readers from the League of Utah Writers. These are members of the League of Utah Writers who have been successful in the League of Utah Writers annual original writing contest. So these are some of the winners from the statewide organization. They're members of the Cache Valley chapter here. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but I would just like to, in case it hasn't been said before, we have some things up here and I have some other things to talk about, but I think I'm going to leave those for later in the program, if that's okay. It'll become evident why a little bit later. I just want to put in a plug for this, Helicon West. Some of you may be here for the first time, some of you may have been coming forever. I see Brian back there. Not that you've been coming forever, but you've been here before. And it's a great thing, you know, you can come and you can read some poetry, or you can listen to some poetry or some prose, and we all know that that's a cool thing. You can come up here, read a poem, and make a friend, and go out for coffee, and start going out, I don't know, and then, you know, maybe you move in together, and then you graduate, get a job, start having kids, get a dog, you know, and then all of a sudden your youngest kid discovers the cure for cancer. We all know that that can happen, and that's a cool thing about Helicon West. We all know that. But there's another function of Helicon West that you may not have thought about, and it has to, my explanation will have to do with the League of Utah Writers. We have the League of Utah Writers today. Tim Keller back in the corner is our president, and then we have a schedule of readers who will delight you with their readings. But we are one chapter, the Cache chapter, in the League of Utah Writers, and we are the best chapter.
Yeah.
And we are, and I say that because I'm a member too and everything, and we're all great, but we are like objectively the best in the state right now. And it has a lot to do with Helicon West, because a lot of us use Helicon West as a part of our writing process. When you come into Helicon West with a bloody raw piece of writing, and you read it to 20 people or 30 people or 60 people who don't know you and don't care about you, you begin to hear your writing the way that they hear it, and that can help you straighten out your writing and make it the best that it can be. So it's kind of the Cache chapter's secret weapon. And so if you are writing a project, if you're working on something, I would encourage you to come back, bring friends, bring your creative friends, and participate, and this will get better and better. But as a tool in your writer's toolkit, this is rare. I don't think that everybody has this. So that's my sort of plug for Helicon West. I'm sure it's been said before, but please take that to heart. Okay, so just for a moment, just forget these books right up here. We're going to talk about those in a second. I think I'm going to just move right into our program. And as I said, it's members of the League of Utah Writers. We have 5 readers for you tonight. They're going to read some of their material, some of it that has done well in a contest or something that they're currently working on. And our first reader is Emily Wheeler. And I'm doing the introductions tonight, so bear with me. This is the only thing I have to read tonight. Emily Wheeler holds graduate degrees in history and landscape architecture from Utah State University. She's the award-winning author of The Haunting of Springett Hall, Yours, Dorothy, and Peace with the Dawn with Jeffrey Bateman, who is a bygone member of ours that we all miss. She's a Whitney Award finalist for her novel Born to Treason. She has published many short stories and magazine articles and is the League of Utah Writers 2016 Writer of the Year. In addition to writing, she consults on matters of historic preservation and teaches history at USU, and she is represented by Abigail Samoon of Red Fox Literary. Please give it up for Emily.
Before I read, I actually have a piece of League of Utah Writers business that needs to be conducted here tonight. I'm the publications chair of League of Utah Writers, and you guys may be familiar with this book. Some of you guys may be in it. You may not know that it was entered in the League of Utah Writers published book contest this year. That being said, the League of Utah Writers would like to award to Star Colebrook the Gold Quill for the Helicon West anthology in the collections category of the published book contest. The Gold Quill is actually the top award that's offered in its category, and so from my little Mary, hold it up. Chad wants your picture. But before you take your picture, from my Mary Poppins purse here, I also have the Gold Quill. It's a space pen. They're awesome because they like write upside down and stuff. And the trophy.
I'm wealthy.
Okay. Keep clapping.
So congratulations.
Oh my gosh.
And to everyone that was involved with it, congratulations, because
Yeah.
of all the categories, the judge was most impressed with the collections category. She was really blown away by it, and this was the top book in that category, so.
Thank you.
And now this will be a downer, I'll just read. After all that fun. This is a flash fiction piece. It's called Happy Anniversary. Welcome to Andy's Steakhouse. Just two? The wife nods. She wears her white hair in a pixie cut in place of the typical grandma hairdo, and the man has a shaved head, but silver fuzz betrays the pattern of his baldness. The hostess hardly glances at them as she guides them to a booth. Their waitress appears and plops two laminated menus onto the table. Celebrating anything special? It's our anniversary. The wife settles into the vinyl seat. Her companion grins at her. 50 wonderful years. A frown deepens the wrinkles around the wife's mouth. But we've been married 52 years. His eyes twinkle over the rims of his bifocals. Oh, the wife snaps her menu up and he chuckles. Can I start you with anything to drink, the waitress asks, tapping her pen on her notepad. 2 waters, the wife says, at the same time her husband orders a Coke. The doctor said, she begins, this is a celebration. He takes her hand across the table. I'll get those drinks. When the waitress delivers the clinking glasses, 1 Coke and 2 waters, the couple has already set their menus aside. Ready to order? The wife nods. I'll have the chicken salad with ranch. And I'd like the 12-ounce steak, the husband says. Why do you always get the 12-ounce? You never finish it. The waitress pauses, pen at the ready. I want the 12-ounce steak, rare. You're going to get salmonella, his wife says. It says on the menu, consuming undercooked E. coli, he says. What? Beef causes E. coli. Salmonella comes from poultry, birds, lizards, things like that. Lizards aren't poultry. They can still give you salmonella, but who eats lizard? Some places do. Don't you remember that restaurant where they served alligator? Alligators aren't lizards. No one eats lizards. They turn their gazes on the waitress. She snaps her gum. Bring me the steak, the husband says. Rare. If you'd get one of those smartphones like Robbie has, we could find out if alligators give you salmonella, his wife prods as the waitress escapes with their order. There's computers everywhere. I don't want one on my phone. The government probably uses it to spy on us. You're not that interesting. His wife pats his hand with a fond smile. 1 hour and a $30 check later, the celebration is over. They leave behind empty plates and a tip, the husband carrying his cold steak in a doggy bag. Do you think Robbie will remember to call today? The wife asks quietly once they're settled in their car. I don't know, he's so busy. The husband rests his hand on hers. Are you feeling nostalgic? She forces a smile. I just want him to look up if alligators can give you salmonella. Her husband chuckles and steers the car to the highway. Do you think you're ever going to eat alligator again? Maybe. She rests her head against the plush seat back for the long drive home. Probably not. There are lots of things I thought we'd do again someday, but now, some things we can still do. His eyes are fixed on the road, but he's grinning suggestively. She rolls her eyes and stares out her window, watching the telephone poles flash by. They seem to approach slowly, marching closer at a steady clip. Then suddenly they've reached her and they're gone, each one a single beat in the monotonous rhythm, fading quickly. Stop! She leans forward and grips the dashboard. He slams on the brakes. The tires screech, leaving the scent of hot rubber. What? He grabs her arm. Are you all right? I saw something back there. She hops out and shuffles back down the shoulder. Are you crazy, woman? He fumbles to unbuckle his seatbelt and scrambles after her. It was beside the road, she said when he catches up. It looked like an animal. Probably an alligator, he grumbles, but he takes her arm. There, just off the shoulder, a patch of brown fur nearly blends into the dry weeds. I think it's dead, the husband whispers. You'd better leave it. It whimpers, a low canine cry. Get the steak, she says. I was going to have it tomorrow. You were not. It was going to sit in the fridge for a week until I threw it out. The husband turns back to the car. That thing's probably one of those zombie coyotes from the news. Probably got mange and rabies. When he brings the steak, the creature lifts its head. It's a spaniel of some kind, hunched in fear or pain. She reaches for the doggy bag, but he holds it back. You'll get your hand bit off. I'll do it. He flips out a pocket knife and carves off a bit of steak. Do you think it's been hit by a car, she whispers? Maybe. Maybe somebody abandoned it. They couldn't afford it, or it got too old. The husband's face softens, and he holds out the piece of steak. The dog slowly extends its nose, then lurches to its feet. It laps the meat out of his palm and whimpers for more. He's a pretty fellow under all those mats, the wife says as her husband cuts off another piece of steak. The dog gobbles it up and regards him with pleading eyes. He reminds me of that dog Robbie loved. What was its name? Badger, she says. It was nice having him around, brighten things up. A car zips by without slowing. The couple shares a long look. We'll take him to the vet first thing in the morning, the wife says. Get him cleaned up. What should we call him? He laughs. How about Gator? She rolls her eyes again, but her lips twitch in a smile. As they load Gator into the back seat, the husband gently bumps his wife's shoulder. Happy anniversary. She smiles back. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, Emily. So yes, we have copies of this book, which is now an award-winning collection of prose and poetry, available from Star for $15. A steal at twice the price. I think the cover price is probably more than that. But $15 with Star. We have a couple other books up here. Both sides from the middle is Star Coolbrook's new collection of poems. And if I'm not mistaken, the proceeds for this volume go to benefit the May Swenson, what is the proper?
House.
The May Swenson House. And so you are sort of donating to the arts with your purchase of this. And this is, how much?
$20.
$20, still a steal, still a steal. And with that, I would like to announce that on Sunday, September 16th at 6 p.m. at the Bluebird, the upper room at the Bluebird, there will be a launch for both sides from the middle. Star will be reading. Is anyone else reading that night? just star. It's all star all night. And those readings in that upper room are really, really fun. We get some snacks, and I think can you bring your own beverages?
I guess not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah, you missed those ones. But it's still pretty fun. Come up and get drunk first. No, come. Come up for that. That's the 16th. Coming right up. Okay. Where did I put my? Hold on. Where's the clipboard? Should we start that around? We have a clipboard if you want to sign up for open mic. We'll move into open mic right after the reading. And if you would like to read in the open mic section, just put your name on the clipboard. Next, we will have Felicia Rose read to us. Felicia Rose is the League of Utah Writers 2018 Writer of the Year. So Emily was 2 years ago. Felicia is this year. Like I said, CASH chapter. This is a statewide organization. We're the best. Felicia is a native New Yorker, writer, editor, and homesteader. She taught for many years at the New School before becoming the faculty development coordinator at LaGuardia College, Community College. Felicia's writing has appeared in The Way to My Heart, an anthology of food-related romance, The Sun, The Change Agent, Mirrored Realities, and elsewhere, including two of the volumes published by Poetry at Three Stars Poetry Group. When the spirit moves Felicia, she pens essays and how-to articles for Mother Earth News. She's here tonight to read to us. Please join me in welcoming Felicia Rose.
So I'm going to read you a short story called Yofi. And Yofi was Sigmund Freud's chow chow dog, who sometimes attended therapy sessions with him. 6 months after I retired from my job as a university librarian, my psychiatrist advised me to get a dog. I don't like dogs, I said. Perhaps you'll learn to. She jotted the word dog on a script and handed it to me. Her familiar soft brown eyes, salt and pepper hair, and silvery voice offered a modicum of comfort. Still, I said, somehow I doubt it. Look, George, I've known you for 7 years. You've tried hypnosis, meditation, and yoga. Why not try a dog? I adjusted my tie and smoothed a crease in my vest. Imagine dog hairs on the oriental rug, I said, or heaven forbid, piddle on a hardwood floor. You're an active man, George. If I up your medication, you'll spend your retirement dozing in an armchair. You know I seldom give advice, but now here it is. Take that prescription and get a dog. After the session, I walked up Madison to 81st and then turned east. It was a brilliant winter day, and tidy white-haired ladies walked miniature poodles with matching white fur. A man wearing a bow tie and houndstooth suit strolled along 3rd. His Scottish terrier wore a Glenplaid coat. Both the man and the dog boasted a calm, self-contained mien. At home, I brewed a cup of Viennese coffee and drank it over the Times. An article in the science section discussed the side effects of a certain medication. I'd never heard of the drug. Still, it made me worry about my own prescriptions. I breathed deeply to calm my nerves. Then I went to the kitchen to wash the cup. I retained privileges at the library, so the next day I headed downtown. 2 canine-themed books caught my eye. I borrowed them and continued my walk. Along the way, I imagined owning a Scottish terrier, black and sleek like the one I'd seen. But though fit, I'd verge on stout. Walking a petite dog would highlight my girth. A dog park at Mercer and Houston roused me from my thoughts. 8 or 10 motley hounds barked and ran and peed. Their owners, dressed in sundry versions of grunge, tossed soggy tennis balls to their charges. One young man used newspaper to dispose of the waste. As he carried the parcel to the refuse bin, the contents fell on his shoe. No, I said to the psychiatrist the following week, a dog is out of the question. Next thing you know, I'll be living in a mud-sloshed dive. Really, George, must everything be a slippery slope? Karen, you know very well I can't even live with another human being. Remember what I told you about my college roommate who put his shoes on the bed? Look, it's your life, George, but maybe a dog will contribute to your peace of mind without the side effects of all those meds. I fingered the chain on my pocket watch and smoothed out the kinks. Perhaps, I said. That night, I sat in my armchair and perused the books. Several breeds drew my attention. I especially liked the ones depicted in Renaissance art. They, along with their masters, appeared well-groomed and staunch. I put my feet on the ottoman and removed a piece of lint from my robe. A dog might be lying beside me just now. A mastiff seemed a solid choice, but it required more space than a one-bedroom apartment afforded. A basset hound sounded appealing for its size, but it slobbered and howled. I read on. Apparently, Freud had a chow. The photo before me depicted the analyst hunched in his chair, his arm around his pet. His three-piece suit appeared impeccable. So did his office. Still, to be on the safe side, the following day I increased my service with heavenly maids. Then I searched for a dog. A week later, I brought home a chow. For the first 5 minutes, Yofi stood in the hallway on the hardwood floor and stared at a piece of lint. So as not to disturb her, I laid my overcoat on the armchair and stared as well. When the mantel clock struck 12, I said, "Yofi, would you like some lunch?" She ignored me. Finally, I had no choice but to remove the object of her attention and place it in the trash. She looked at me with soft brown eyes. I imagined I saw thanks. According to the lady at the kennel, Yofi had been a surrender dog. The previous owner, an elderly man, could no longer attend her. "It's not easy in the city," she'd said. "You know, having to walk them 2 or 3 times a day. That poor man didn't even have an elevator. He had to take her up and down 4 flights of stairs, morning, noon, and night." "I'm in fine fettle," I said. I meant it, of course, in a physical sense. She nodded and handed me the leash. After lunch, Yofi and I walked along Museum Mile. I felt dapper in my tweed overcoat and flat cap with Yofi by my side. Several poodles approached to sniff her, and the white-haired ladies nodded faintly, and then, unsmiling, looked away. As we turned down Second, Yofi and I passed the man with the Scottish Terrier. His dark wool pants fit his sturdy figure well, even when he bent to clean up after his dog, which he did with aplomb. When we returned to the apartment, I removed my shoes, and Yofi spent a good 20 minutes cleaning her paws. She licked them meticulously, producing a sound akin to that of sucking on a marrow-filled bone. Then she jumped on the armchair. My heart raced, and I yelled at her to get down. She did so, but then went to the corner to sulk. Feeling despondent about the matter, I invited her to sit beside me on the sofa. She laid her head on my lap, and I petted her as I read. The radiator in the psychiatrist's office blasted steam, fogging the window and all but concealing the air shaft on the other side. I unfolded my handkerchief and wiped my brow. "Karen," I said, "I wonder if this is cause for concern." "So, George, if I understand correctly, you're concerned about not being concerned?" "Precisely. If I don't mind her on the sofa, if in fact I invite her to be on the sofa, the next thing you know, I'll not care if people wear shoes in the apartment. Or, for that matter, put them on the bed. And so my material life will be as disordered as my inner life. Might Yofi be making your inner life more serene?" One bright morning, Yofi sat by the door and wagged her tail. I placed my empty coffee cup in the sink and got the leash. We strolled along the East River Promenade, watching joggers and boats. When I sat on a bench, Yofi hunched beside me and placed her paw around my leg. I took out a book and read for a while. On the way home, we saw the man with a Scottish Terrier headed in our direction. This time we nodded. Yofi gambled in delight. It rained heavily for the next 4 days, and so Yofi and I limited our walks to within a block of the building. White poodles abounded in raincoats and booties, but the white-haired ladies made themselves scarce. Instead, at the other end of the leashes were maids in black dresses with white aprons and trim. Yofi did her business, but then tugged on the leash toward the building. When we entered, she wiped her paws on the mat. I thought of the man with the Scottish Terrier, but did not see him again until the following Friday, when the rain cleared and Yofi and I ventured east. He had just finished curbing his dog and was now headed west. The two beasts pulled us together. I breathed deeply and then spoke. I appreciate your doing your share to keep our city clean. It's rather inconsiderate that some people don't. He had a plangent voice which contrasted with self-assured eyes. We continued our discussion of tidiness and dogs before proceeding to other matters. By the time we'd circled Conservatory Garden, I'd learned, among other details, that Lucian worked as a book editor specializing in Renaissance art. Well, George, the psychiatrist said, it's been what, a year now since you got Yofi? 8 months since Lucian came into your life? You were my first client in New York, and now you're my last. I trust you'll continue to function reasonably, which is to say within the normal range of neuroses. As for myself, I plan to retire. A month later, we had our final session. As a gift of appreciation, I gave her a photograph of Yofi savoring a bone on the oriental rug. She gave me a set of bookends. We thanked one another, and I removed a handkerchief from my pocket to dab my eyes. When I opened the apartment door, Yofi greeted me with a wag of her tail. I placed the bookends, 2 bronze canines, on the mantel beside the clock. Lucian suggested we name them after our dogs. Now, the bronze versions of Bridget and Yofi stand neatly on the bookshelf, securing our canine-themed books. As for the actual Terrier and Chow, evenings they sit on either side of the sofa, while Lucian and I relax between them and read.
Charming. Next we have Tim Turbot. Tim is an avid reader, writer, martial artist, and role player. He is the founder and president of the writing group Good AF Writers, which does not stand for American Fork. Tim is a member of the Cash chapter, but he moved a little while ago to Orem. Are you in America? Pardon? Highland. And started a chapter there, and kind of goes back and forth between those 2 chapters. So we still claim him as ours. The members of his chapter often joke that his motto is, it's not good enough, it's not good unless it has a body count. He feels this is somewhat unjustified, as he has in fact written several pieces in which nobody dies, including the title story of the 2016 League of Utah Writers anthology, Volatile When Mixed. Please welcome Tim Turbot.
Just in case you didn't hear over the clapping, they call me Turbo. So this is also a flash piece. This is I was assigned to represent the genre writers, just in case we have any aspiring genre writers. So this is a rather short horror piece. A little bit predictable, but I hope you'll like it. Jeremy took out his phone as he approached the subway car and tapped against the top of the door as it slid open. The station people said you didn't have to do that, but he didn't work the night shift, coming home with the gas into the morning, so some dumbass computer could write him a bullshit ticket. Fucking computers were everywhere nowadays. Jeremy sat down, stuffing his phone back in his pocket. Neural fucking networks stealing on to people, jobs, watching your every step, and There was a white woman in the car with him. She was sitting closer to the back, 3 or 4 paces away. Usually he had the car to himself, except on weekends. It wasn't Friday, was it? No, it couldn't be. She didn't seem drunk. She kind of stared out the window like she might be stoned, but stoners didn't care if it was the weekend or not. She had a round face, round arms, round everything, really. Even her chin-length black hair curled around her face like a ball, the bangs coming nearly down to her eyebrows. It reminded him of a picture he'd seen on the internet, an older one. Someone had carved a cantaloupe rind in the shape of a little hat and stuck it on a cat. That's what she looked like, a cat with a cantaloupe rind stuck on her head. Then Jeremy noticed what she had on the seat next to her, a man's head. But it couldn't be, could it? No, of course not, it couldn't be. People didn't just walk onto subway trains carrying someone else's head around like a purse, right? It was probably an android head. It had to be. She was an android repairman. Woman, person, whatever. She repaired androids. And she was bringing the cranium in for repairs. Hell, the android was probably getting along fine without it. But the cranium was just so pale. Android scale didn't get pale. Jeremy knew that. If a limb, like a hand or a foot, got separated from the android, it looked normal. A little creepy, but nothing compared to the empty eyes those motherfuckers had. Jeremy slid down a couple of seats closer to the woman until he was only a pace or so away. She didn't seem to notice, still staring out the window, so he leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, to get a better look at the head. It sat upright, long black hair in a tangled, greasy pool, almost like a nest of spiders. Jeremy shuddered. Its eyes were closed, chin resting on the seat, mouth agape, as if it were snoring softly. God damn, it didn't look like an android cranium. It had to be, right? Too good to be a prop. That was it. It was an android for a horror house or something. Had to be. People didn't just bring severed heads onto the subway, especially ones that looked so damn creepy. Jeremy smiled, leaning back in his seat, nearly laughing to himself. You nearly had me there, he said to the woman. She stiffened, her eyes snapping to his. Excuse me? Jeremy nodded at the head beside her. That android cranium, it's really good. Like, really good. You've been repairing androids long? It's goddamn. Her head tilted to the side, eyes narrow. I don't repair androids, she said slowly. Jeremy blinked, grin faltering. So, he swallowed. You like the delivery girl or something? The woman blinked and shook her head. Delivery girl? What are you talking about? Jeremy stared at her, mouth agape. That's not an android? He pointed at the head beside the woman. She looked down at the head, then back to Jeremy and grinned. She had very small teeth, close set, perfectly even, perfectly flat like a horse's. And Jeremy sat back, his heart thumping in his chest. Oh, him? She put her hand on top of the cranium and stroked it twice, then grabbed a fistful of hair and lifted it, extending it towards Jeremy. The head's mouth fell open, dark blood dripping onto the floor. He's real. Wanna hold him?
You ready, Robin?
Oh, yes.
Robin Butters is an award-winning author of books for children and adults. Her first novella, The Christmas Rose, won first place in the League of Utah Writers Original Writing Contest and was a holiday bestseller. Robin's home is in Lewiston, Utah, and she and her husband, Kent, are the parents of 6 children. She is a registered nurse and enjoys traveling, composing, and reading. Please welcome Robin Butters.
I don't know how to follow that one, Tim, but mine's a totally different area here. Tim over here asked me if I would come and read some poetry, and he asked me if I'd read a few pieces. So I'm going to share 3 pieces with you tonight. 2 of them are for adults and 1 is for children, and I'll read the child one last. And the first one I'm going to read to you is called Slight. So like a thief, Her every slight steals portions of my peace. I force aside the bitter thoughts with hope that they will cease. She seeks more favors, asks my all without, she seeks more favors, takes my all without regard for me. I try to stop, abhor the pause, and help reluctantly. I give, she takes, and takes, and takes. No end to all the wants. Then when she leaves, each caustic slight returns in cunning taunts. I seek to find a compromise, a place we two agree, but patterns set with stony claws direct our destiny. Resigned I give, and more again, fulfill all she requires, while fragile tendrils of my peace combust in her desires. The next one is called Rejection, and this is the one Tim said he liked the best, so he asked that I read this one. She didn't respond. Unwilling to accept, I checked the mail day after day after day, waiting like a puppy, expecting, hoping. But no, a friend lost. The cost slashes to my heart. No sorry, not now. No maybe soon. No goodbye. Silence, a canker eating at my core. The open wound closed in time, leaving only a blackened bruise. I tried to bury it along with our memories, and then it came, a card, small, white, bearing her return. The yellowed bruise flamed purple-blue, throbbing a reminder of her rejection. I set the card on a shelf, not willing to chance, yet my wayward glance settled when I passed. At last I tore it open and confronted her face, and the phrase died with grace. The bruise of rejection faded to clear, but the note, missed you, too ill to write, stained my soul blood red. The last piece is a children's piece, a little lighter, whole lot lighter, I hope. And it's called Where, Oh, Where Can the Babies Be? Our farm's abuzz with news today. There will be babies right away. Mom told Dad, and Dad told me. Now Dad and I will race to see if there are piglets from the sow or heifer calves from Cass, the cow. We baby lambs would be okay. A single foal would make my day. The pasture is the likely place. I'll find the babies, win the race. I run through corn, alfalfa hay, then ford the river on my way. At last our livestock is in view. I run to each to find a clue. Old Cass is grazing, chewing cud. The sow, she wallows in the mud. Our ewes are eating oats nearby. The mare is trotting, head held high. They show no sign there soon will be a newborn babe or 2 or 3. I must go on if I'm to find a newborn babe of any kind. I slosh through grass around my knees and fight off flies, mosquitoes, bees. I climb the fence and jump the drain, then sprint along the dusty lane. Dad's not around. I wonder why. Did he give up without a try? If so, then I am bound to win. I think that thought and grin a grin. At last I reach the poultry pens and step inside to check the hens. There are no chicks about to hatch. The poults are turkey's older batch. I look in here, I look up there. I can't find babies anywhere. I'm just about to say, I'm done, when Dad yells from the house, they've come! How can that be? What did I miss? How do I make some sense of this? I trudge back home. It's hard to lose, but Dad is waiting with the news. I guess you won, I say in haste. He puts his arm around my waist. Yes, he cheers, and so did you. His winning smile makes me smile too, for now at last I understand. This race ends better than I planned. I run and beat him through the door to see a sight not seen before. All wrapped in white on Mama's knee are babies, twins who look like me.
Once again, thanks for coming out. It's good to see so many of you here. Before I bring up our last reader, I would like to point out that In addition to the other benefits of the League of Utah Writers, there is an anthology that's published each year that contains some of the entries that have won the original writing contest. So the original writing contest of the League of Utah Writers offers cash prize and an opportunity to be in the annual anthology. This is the current one at first glance. Emily, how much are they? 10 bucks. 10 bucks. So every price point, we've kind of got you covered. However much you want to spend, we've kind of got you covered. Also, as I've been talking about, we have a chapter here in Cache Valley. We meet right here in the library in the history room, and then sometimes in other rooms. But if you need a critique group, if you're looking for lots of different kinds of voices, as you've seen represented here, we have people from all kinds of backgrounds writing all kinds of stuff. It is a great place to make connections, improve your writing, get reviews, review other people, and yeah, join us in moving ahead with our writing. So our last reader is Jeremy Goyer. Jeremy has a degree in film and media arts. He's been involved in independent films as well as productions for MTV, Discovery Channel, and Disney, but has lately switched his efforts to writing after getting over the crazy notion that writing is only for people who know how to write. I see a lot of people at work who write without really knowing how, so I think he's probably Jeremy's short stories and poems can be found in Mirrored Realities, Volatile When Mixed, Chasing Magic, and in issue 13 of the Non-Binary Review, just a few issues ago. Please welcome our final League of Utah Writers reader, Jeremy Goyer.
All right, this is a flash fiction piece called Exhibition. The darkness of the stage wings hung around me like the heavy curtain that descended, separating the small Sarah from the audience. I listened to the applause as Sarah ran off stage and Jack ran on. It was louder than some of the other students had received, but not as loud as Andrew's. But no one expected the kind of applause Andrew got. We can't all be prodigies, and most of us aren't. I shifted my leotard again as Jack's performance was announced. If I'd made it to a bigger school in New York or London or something, maybe I would have been able to find one that fit. But around here, everyone seemed to think that one size fits all was good enough for male dancers. Size might be fine, but we're just not all the same shape, especially where it counts. The jazzy tempo of Jack's accompaniment rolled out of the speakers surrounding the stage. 2.5 minutes to go. 2.5 minutes to go. 2.5 minutes until the last 6 months of my life would be released in my own 2 minutes of fame. The dance was good. I knew it was. And I'd barely done anything but rehearse all week. But my mind still raced through every detail of the composition, through every step and gesture, and through every stylistic decision. Up until last week, when my advisor had suggested I consider performing nude. It's a wonderful piece, she had said, exciting in its simplicity, and your current choice in costuming accents that wonderfully. But allowing your work to flow through the raw beauty of the male form could provide a sublime unity of form and function. Candace had squeezed my arm, leaning forward slightly from her seat by my side. Alvin doesn't need to debase himself like that, she said. His work speaks for itself, without any gimmicks. Professor Moore didn't press the issue, and I had stuck with my black leotard, though perhaps more for convenience than anything else. I'd always rehearsed in my leotard anyway, so there was no change to the weight or pull of the fabric to distract me once on stage. But Andrew would have said art isn't about convenience. A snare drum signaled the approaching finale of Jack's piece, and I leaned to the edges of the shadows, peering around the curtains for a peek at the audience. Somewhere out there my roommates were seated. A welcome break, they had called it at dinner last night, a chance to forget their theses that would each be defended next week. You've got it easy, they'd said. 2 minutes on stage and then it's all over. No going head to head with a panel of professors, digging through every scrap of information you've gleaned over the past years, desperate to make sure you've left them no reason to doubt you. My eyes traced over the rows of pale faces hanging just beyond the edge of the stage, row upon row upward into the darkness toward the balcony, each row holding more staring eyes than the one before it. I smiled just a bit. Sure, this was nothing like that. Applause surged at the final beats of Jack's music. Not quite Andrew level, but still impressive. Jack stepped back as the lights faded, and the heavy curtain dropped in front of him. We passed in the dim blue of the backstage lights as I replaced him. He gave a small nod and I returned it. Then I was alone in the dark of the stage, the culmination of the past 6 years waiting for me on the other side of the curtain. Hundreds of eyes waited to see who I was, and this was my one chance to show them. The decision was already made by the time I realized I was considering it. 2 quick motions pulled the leotard free from my shoulders as my name was announced over the speakers. The black spandex peeled downward until it fell to the floor to be kicked back to where I had waited in the wings. The curtain rose slowly, and I took 3 quick steps underneath it. Somewhere on the front row, I was aware of vague recognition of Candace looking up at me from the dark. Then the lights rose, the music swelled, and I leapt.
Kind of want to hear the rest. That's biographical.
It's fiction.
Oh. Okay, well, thank you to the League of Utah Riders. Let's have one more hand for that. We will now move into the open mic portion of the evening. If you would like, is there anyone who hasn't signed up who wants to sign up? We have 7 readers. We have room for more. Casey, you sure? Okay, well then we will we'll move through these. Let's do we'll do a couple at a time. If you do change your mind and you want to jump in on the open mic, just beckon for the clipboard and somebody will pass it to you. So we'll go with 2 readers. Our first 2 readers are Isaac Tim first and Lexi Reeks. Come on up, guys.
I should work this into the drama. So this is the anthology. I have 5 pieces in here, and there's other people who have pieces in here. Hasn't read. Amanda Starr, right here. Just read it. Brittany, you're in here too. Okay. There's a connection to this in Helicon West. 2 poems I'm going to read I wrote during the group, not Helicon West, League of Utah Riders, because it's a place where you get creative people. I like suck it in like a vampire. These are Helicon West Helicon West is responsible for it. But League of Utah Riders are responsible for these 2 poems, so you can blame them. No. So these are, all 5 of them are car related. I don't know how I became the car poet, but apparently that's what I am. Okay. Sunday morning. North side of Kings Canyon, Route 50, a semi-truck burns like a paper lantern, aluminum sides flaking into the sky, leaving behind the trailer's red bones. Half a mile away in the radiant heat of ground zero, 4 of us stand solemn. I look up at my grandfather. His face is wrapped like a man catching the glimpse of a burlesque dancer's thigh under a gaslight. Next to my dad stands a truck driver, nodding his corduroy hat in his hands, mumbling, chanting, "Oh God, oh sweet Jesus, oh God, oh sweet Jesus." We watch smoke make early night, painting the red sun like Revelation. Dead Camaros. I have, in one of my books, Chad wrote a burning tire next to this poem. I wish I could show it to you. It's a little red picture of a burning tire, but that was his seal of approval for this poem. So this is Dead Camaros. I know a yard where dead Camaros lie. Saw them crawl in like sick dinosaurs, gurgling and panting, their mouths pried open, hands run down their flanks, sad shakes of the head as blood is drained into pans. There is no funeral, just summer looting, rims and carburetors, feet and tongues. But they are still red, lurking among the calla lilies, the high prairie grass, longing to attack the road. Thank you.
take your time.
Get things ready. Okay.
Hi, I'm Lexi. I have written 2 poems that I'm going to read tonight. The first one I wrote for my sister. And there's like an epigraph at the beginning that I need to read or else you guys won't understand what's happening. Okay. Orange and lemon aromas are produced by chemically identical molecules that are simply mirror images of each other. So an orange is really just a left-handed lemon. I think we are inside-out versions of each other, for my insides are what you see in the mirror. If you pressed your thumbs into my cells and inverted them like contact lenses, I'd be you. I think we mix like chocolate milk and Chinese food, like dust and tear ducts, like pickles and peaches. We are sisters of the Rue family, but not like regret. We are connected through families of trees whose long toes collect moisture and minerals. We are reflections, like oranges and lemons, who both have bright citrus flesh and sun colors, brimming with seeds and clouds of vitamin C that peel from goosebump skin. We both have zest that flavors our laughter, and we both have that desire to know that we both have a place on the table. You left a space for me on life's wood surface and peeled back your skin, so I don't regret peeling back my skin for you. Okay, so the second one is called Change. It's just about like friendships and like how they change over time, and my kind of frustration with that. How are you, I ask, while the guffaws of 3 old women swirl inside the curvature of my ears as they untangle our twine. I show you the white-leafed willow in my backyard and you try to convince me it's black. So I catch your tears on the tips of my fingers and put them in my own eyes, while trying to tell you that sometimes I feel like a side character in my own life, and that I miss our laughter filling the bowls at Applebee's, because our friendship was fused like the key in your old car's ignition. The old women string us along with their polished threads, laughing because all bonds drift. Sorry, I lost my spot, guys. Shouldn't do this on the phone. The fates watch us with protruding eyes. Even though I don't believe in them, even though drifting is not drowning, I tug our strings from their withered fingers and release the auroral strands to ride the breeze.
Our next 2 readers are Teresa Dyer and Ronald Jensen. You can clap them up, you know.
Save your clapping. This is just a little, I guess, a prose poem that I'm working on. When I was 10, summer with skinned knees, softball tournaments from Ephraim to Boulder to Vegas, where I ogled the photos of huge-breasted women papered along each street and learned the word smut from the number of times my mom said it there. Summer was shooting free throws in my driveway, correcting for the slope downward to my left, working on the hook shots Dad taught me before he left. The adopted boy my age down the street moved away without saying goodbye, not before his brothers taught us the fainting game, took turns choking each other until their eyes fluttered white, described the rush of the oxygen-deprived high, and invited us to die for a few moments together. That summer when I was 10, a local girl named Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped from her bed while her family slept, and many things changed in my mind. Before that summer, I believed that home was a safe zone, and if that rich and soon-to-be famous girl was stolen in the night from her privileged house while her father and mother slept down the hall, then how could I hope to be safe in mine? Mom put ADT security stickers on our windows after some teenagers from up the street broke in and stole all our saved cash and my brother's gun. But the stickers were the best security we could afford, and Dad was the light sleeper. So what chance did I stand after he moved out against the dark-clothed men in my dreams each night who took me as easily as they'd taken her? I'd seen enough rated R movies by 10 to have shadowy ideas of what happened to such girls. and I would never have the religious certainty she claimed kept her alive so many months later when she was found. By then the damage was done anyway. That summer first fed me the fear that rots still in my gut on the nights when I can't fall asleep for the ease of evil, the convenience of an unlocked door or the window left open to grant us some late summer air in the night. I wonder if I would still fear the dark and the crowded pain of my anxious mind before dawn if not for that summer when I was 10. But then, I don't think I would trade out the bad and suffer the loss of the good, if I could. After all, we won that tournament in Las Vegas, and nothing else hits like that hook shot Dad taught me when it drops through the net in the summer.
Hi. The Dewey Decimal System. Zeros are general words with mistakes and facts. 100 are the big P words. Speech sound each word lacks. 200 are indigent and mythology too. 300 are holidays, fairy tales, many as you can do. 400 are dictionaries and the way that we talk. 500 are sciences like animals and rocks. 600 are team animals and machines of all sorts. 700 are the arts like drawing and sports. The 800 are jokes and poems and plays. 900 are geography and history of past days. These are the biographies of people we adore. This is my Dewey poem. We'll taught you more. Poem called Little Child. Little child, what can I do to make it so it won't be blue? Can I help you find a book in the library? Or it's about outer space, or it's about fairies? Can I help you open the things in your lunch so you can have $1 to munch? So I hope I can show my love for you day by day, now that I do. Thank you.
Last chance. Casey, ready? Okay, we'll do our last three readers all together. We have three really good ones coming up. We have Brian Cook, Brittany Allen, and Nathan Allen.
Hello, oh, Tim. Oh, jeez, I already start knocking stuff over. Okay, this is my life. Yeah, good to see you. It's been a little while. And the first poem is a little bit about how it's been a little while. Because let's just say I had a little hard time writing, but luckily this is the first thing that I've managed to finish after. And it's mostly at the point where I'm feeling comfortable with it, so yeah, Felicia, whether or not you like the title that I'm throwing out here, we're going with Solution. She's got emotions about that, okay. Solution. Buckets perched on office desks catch rain, drips drowned by clicking keyboards, lamplight cast on spreadsheets piled akimbo, quotas, graphs, bold numbers saying, "You did good, kiddo." At home, fingers tap keys, screen a just noise-filled white space. Blinds shut out the snuff sky. Tomorrow, a bright-eyed night might strike. And the second poem, so I have sleep apnea, and they give you a CPAP, and I hate the name, but it works wonders, but it's ugly, and so I made a sexy poem about the CPAP. Okay, CPAP. I still hate the name. I hate it. Okay. Crystalline spritzer, shots of Appalachian air, white water rafting down my larynx. I forgot how to breathe down in Second City. Atmosphere buzzed with laughter and liquor. Strap that mask on, Dr. John. I'm cartwheels for days. Twist my eye, ride through my hurricane.
Good evening. I brought a poem with me tonight that I was working on a few months ago. Sean helped me with it forever ago. And it's titled Someone Else's Skin. I've decided my sweater dress would be more aptly worn by someone with tights, the kind of woman who at least owns a pair of tights, who wears red lipstick. It plasters on my skin, shows every contour of stomach fat, a crater where my belly button hides. This dress was made for the woman with smaller tits who doesn't need an undershirt to hold herself. I never would have bought this. A friend gave it to me before she moved to NYC, was the kind of girl who would move to NYC, you know, the kind with tights and red lipstick. My husband really likes her, albeit they only met once. He laments that he didn't get to know her better before she took her smaller tits to New York. I don't like where this dress is going. I'm afraid to eat. My husband complimented me this morning, so I held my stomach taut until he dropped me off. He doesn't know it was a parting gift from my friend, but this isn't about her, that friend. She is my friend. It's that it would fit better on someone else's skin. I cannot be this kind of woman. There's too much tug. I would strain the seams just to see if my ragdoll skin is still 3 sizes too big, or if the cold shower shrunk it down by now. I've taken 5 since Saturday's party. It's only been a couple days. It was only one night of blackout binge. It was the only time it's happened. It was only the vodka. It was only her hand. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to read 2 pieces, and neither of them are very polished, so I apologize in advance. The first one I'm going to read is called The Mechanical Engineer Who Thought General Contractors Were Dumb. I don't care what your intentions are. If you don't know the difference between a rim joist and a floor truss, don't make yourself general contractor for your house, even if you're a nice guy and want to save money. Honey, and don't take offense to carpenters laughing a little when you ask what fascia is. Funny how a mechanical engineer can derive the torque power of a 5-inch 32 gear head made out of sunny casts of glistening brass, turning a 9-inch gear with proportional teeth, running off a river stream of whatever liquid is in the textbook. But tongue and groove is a mystery. He's young and smooth and makes more money with fun and youthful women impressed. He's won the choosiest boss's best position, like a lapdog that gets to be groomed, but sold his soul as a corporate stooge. Odd that I was almost green. Maybe I'm not as good a person as I hoped, because I pity him for choosing a life that will marry him to work and filling up the bank to pay for a house he didn't know needed fascia. But I won't be telling him. Not after he ordered 11/16 roof sheeting. He's clearly never had to face a roof and doesn't think the extra 19 pounds per sheet should make a difference. Sometimes the most learned people make the dumbest choices simply because they can't accept their own ignorance. Boy, will he be surprised when it takes us an extra 4 days to finish it, just like we told him it would. I can't wait to explain to him for a 3rd time why his roof needs so many crickets, or why we won't sheet his 10-12 roof in the rain. Really, just hire a damn general contractor. You're gonna make someone do the work for you that you don't understand anyway, and they deserve a paycheck, just same as you. The second one is called The Simple Life. Here we go. The Simple Life. Golden grain, warm summers, dusty roads, big trucks, icy rain, rusty locks, tin roofs, deep tracks from giant tires, sticky mud, barbed wire, gun racks, snakes rattle, dogs howl, cooing cattle, cold nights, dead horses, horse flies, lean dinners, vulture buyers, wrong bets on what is selling, low price for those consuming, no wage for those who sow old seeds, pray for growing, yelling father, trying sons, head low, failing sons, broken axle from failing sons, skipping lunches to get done quicker, weak and artsy, arms like sticks and legs like chickens, holes in knees from vainly kneeling to a God that's too demanding, somehow grateful for my suffer. It's all a plan to make me stronger, to make me stronger, to make me hateful toward a life I had no business making longer, leave me bored and wanting closure, wanting drips of any income, building skills that have no income, screaming liberal teachings, apostate level pleasing, teach my mother and she leaves my father, working in a field he can't sell, to hate her life of academic fire. I work for pats on shoulders to keep my life from becoming like my father's, surrounded by dying horses, dogs, and family, structure, fake smiles during pictures, weeping wives from living so far away from town, cell phones skip like records, and neighbors judge your sons for hating the God uncaring to the plight of those who live the simple life. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you again to the League of Utah Writers and to STAR. Don't forget the books for sale, and as you leave, please help us assemble the chairs on this side of the room. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.